Search today is moving quite fast. Search is not about only having a search bar where you type some word and you receive some result. It's mostly about the proxy between data and humans. Today, most of the issues in that range are solved by AI, either by just having a hybrid search or what we call multimodal search.
It's just only 19% of users fully trust AI answers.
Try to stay agnostic with the model. People can choose whatever model they prefer. And what you should avoid to do is crap content that will serve only SEO purpose. Definitively write content that will be mindful and that people will want to read. Take the control back on your data.
If you had to prioritize, would you focus on speed or transparency to build user trust?
Transparency.
How would you do that? How do majority of people search? They go to Google, they put in a key phrase, they see what they like, they click into it. That behavior is rapidly changing. Today, 46% of Gen Z prefer Instagram and TikTok over Google. YouTube is their go-to for tutorials and reviews. And then you add tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity in the mix, Voice Assistant, Siri, Amazon Echo. All of that gives you no links to click into it. You just get the answer, the context, right? So here's the big question. When that behavior becomes the norm, will they still find you? Hey everybody, I'm Mike Sirius, and this is Mastering Tech Growth. Every week we sit down with industry leaders to bring you no-fluff tips on how to grow. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure to subscribe and send me your biggest growth challenge at masteringtechgrowth.com. I really want to know what you're working on and what keeps you up at night. Joining me today is Quentin. He's a CEO and a founder of Meilisearch, one of the fastest growing open source search engines on the planet. He's been building high-performance search tools for years now, helping companies create lightning-fast, typo-tolerant, and fully customizable search experiences. And he's been sharing that journey on a global stage. Conferences like Web Summit and Slush, shaping how we think about discovery in the AI era. Quentin, thanks for finding time for us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, future of search is a big topic, right? And we only have 60 minutes with you. So we'll concentrate on what actually happens when the search leaves the search bar and how companies and individuals can still stay visible in the world of AI and effectively invisible clicks, right? So we'll have to open the show with this question, Quentin. When I say mastering tech growth, what comes to mind?
When you say mastering tech growth for search,
in general. Yep.
So because I'm in the search topic, I think the most important for me is mastering and not being passive. And it's where it's super important to be able to use the right tool, to be able to not only be passive about what others are doing, but really being able to mastering how people will interact with your product, your tool, and how you can master your growth overall.
Okay. So do you have how you approach a path to mastery? Like what's Quentin's way of making sure that you stay relevant, that you're getting all the knowledge and you just you're continuously building towards something which you can call mastery?
Yeah. So basically, I'm using most of the tool I can dailies. I try to stay up to date on every tool that are released. Try to try most of them and to get my own knowledge about them, not only following what has been said on Twitter or on Instagram, etc., but looking really like how we can serve my business and how I can use them. And then I try to adapt what I see, what I learn to actually make such businesses.
I love that. So you're playing not only with your own tools, you're actually playing as well with competitor tools and just a broader range of all the tools when it comes to the search.
Yeah, search today is moving quite fast. It has been something for the last 20 years. It changed the last 8 years slightly, but now it's kind of changing every month. It's going super fast.
Every month?
Yeah, it's
okay.
Just a few months ago, agents was not existing, and the position of search in this agent world could be very strategic, but it's not really defined yet. Like what will be looking the world of agents, the world of search in the next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years is not defined yet. So we have to be always on the starting block to look at what are the news, listening a lot of customers, understanding like what are the actual pains, what would be the future pains, what they could be afraid, not only about search, but in general with this AI evolving, etc. Because most of the time it could have some impact on search.
Okay, I love that. I mean, you're not the first person saying that the landscape of AI tooling and or AI impacting, behavior and processes is has like such a huge impact that things just is evolving so quickly that it's almost like impossible to keep with that pace. So I want to set the scene with and kick off the episode with this one, right? So majority of the teams design the search experiences or search tooling for the screen, and as we implied in the beginning of the episode, that behavior is really changing, right? We have voice activation, we go to ChatGPT, we just put in, we get the answer. So there's no clicks anymore, right? There's no going to the website. And according to McKinsey, nearly 70% of customers now expect to interact with companies via voice or chat interfaces, right? So the companies building for these formats already seeing better engagement and reach. So Quentin, what's the biggest mindset shift companies need to make when their content isn't being clicked anymore? It's being spoken, it's being summarized, it's being embedded in someone else's answers.
I think it's come with the fact that there is more and more information online, and there is more and more product to sell, there is more and more everything. So the general shift has moved from people are searching for content to people are discovering for content. And this shift means technically a lot of changes because people are not exactly typing the right words, they are not exactly expressing the right thing. They want to be to have personal experience. They want to be promoted with exceptional content that fit what they want, what they need, etc. So they are always trying to discover what could be the next thing, and they are not exactly looking for one specific thing anymore. I think the challenge now is that there is different medium, as you mentioned. The good point for us, for Meilisearch, is that whatever the medium, there is always transcription to a final search that will be made. And because search is not about only having a search bar where you type some word and you receive some result, it's mostly about the proxy between data and humans. And now more and more AI agents and stuff, but basically on between someone or something that have an intent and the data that could answer this intent. And you can see search only as a proxy between the two of them. And the key challenge in that world is that this proxy should be owned by the business owner and not owned by everyone else. Today, when you are using ChatGPT or any other tools, AI tools, they are going to your website, so to different websites, they are crawling websites, they are getting content, etc. But it means that the business owner of the website have no control, no power over what the ChatGPT or what the tool is grabbing and collecting and showing to their users. And that's where we should work with company, because they need to have access to this bridge to make able to personalize, to customize, but also to promote some content, to promote some product, etc. There is always a benefit of being at the middle, being in control of this bridge.
Okay. So you mentioned people don't search for content now, they discover. Yeah. What's the difference between search and discover?
Let's try, for example, if you take the example of a basic marketplace. Before you were knowing exactly that you want to have this Adidas running shoes exactly because there were only 20 of them, different shoes, and this one was absolutely the best. So you were basically just typing the name of the shoes, the name of the brand, but also the name of the model, etc. That is basically search. You know exactly what you are looking for, and you are expecting to have the perfect fit about what you search.
Yep.
When you are in discovery mode, you are most likely like, I want to find the best shoes that has been that are trendy or that are for my mood. So what you will type is, I want to have shoes for trail in the mountain, for example, and you want to be to have the shoes for sure, but you also want to have metadata about why are they good, why are they promoted, what is exceptional with those one, etc. You want to have additional content and information. So you are here to not only find something, but also discover new content and having more information about those new content.
Okay, I love how you explained that. That makes perfect sense. So, are we saying that behavior is changing, or is it more like supplemental to the search? So, I still thinking that I'm probably gonna know what I want, so I still gonna be searching in the sense of how you explain it, but at the same time, that discovery piece, which is new to this current decade, let's say, it's something which is exploding. Like people are willing to discover more. Is that the right assumption?
The assumption is that we will always need to search. We will always need to discover new content. The big challenge for most of the industry is to be able to do both at the same time in the same interface,
Right.
because it's two very different approach.
Mm-hmm.
But you should be able to get both use cases into the same user interface, in the same navigation with the same tool. That's where Meilisearch is really good at also, because we have this capability of performing a search or a discovery search into the same call and to promote the right result at the right time. So basically, Meilisearch is capable of understanding if the user is specifically searching or discovering content and promoting the right result at the right time. It's one of the key capability of Meilisearch. It's something we are pretty proud of, but it's also one of the key challenges over the industry.
Okay, so how do you do that? Is that baked into how you search, the words you use, which sort of gives you some type of intent where you can decide that this is a genuine search or this is more of discovery query?
So basically how we do it is that we have been working on what we call full text search. So basically search, being able to answer very precisely to something that has been asked very precisely. We are the best in that domain. So we can clearly identify if a search is not a discovery intent, but more a very precise search intent. And whatever, if there is not enough, so if we are not sure about the fact that it's a pure search because the keywords are not here, the content use or the word use are not super precise, etc. about the result, then we can automatically switch our model to let's grab everything that look like this, like that are in this area. That if you are just typing shoes for running or for trails, basically we will look at those words in that order, etc., to find if there is any shoes for trail. But if we don't find any results that have as a name shoes for trail, that will never be the case. We will say, okay, perhaps it's because it's not a search, it's more someone that want to discover something.
Right.
So we'll
Okay.
move to the other concept.
So you mentioned as well, Quentin, that effectively the search is proxy between humans and the data sources, right? So it's just an engine to make sure that people find and discover what they're looking for. And you mentioned as well that companies should have control over it. So what we're saying effectively, if you want to install a search engine above your data, that you want to have that unique solution rather than relying on global tools like ChatGPT to index your information and to give the answers. Is that the right assumption where this have control comes from?
Yes, but perhaps let me rephrase what it means. Search engine didn't always work or didn't always exist. What we were doing before was just to have SQL databases with all the information and a website exposing the content. Why not having just given users or people the ability to do direct SQL query inside the database? Because you will have no control about what they will filter, what they will look, what they will retrieve, etc. We created a search engine to be able to control, to say like this person could have access to those information, but for this person that is looking for this information, I will promote this content because I have some benefits of doing so. So basically, we created also search engine to simplify the access to the data, but also to control how people will have access to the data. And I think it's exactly the same as we did for human, but we will have to do it for agents. You don't want to let ChatGPT just crawling your website and finding whatever results they found and showcasing it to the users. You want to tell ChatGPT, for this intent, your customer want to have information about shoes for trade, I recommend as a brand, because it's my expertise, I recommend to showcase this specific shoes, and this one, because in my opinion, they are the best one for this query. And as a company selling shoes or whatever other company for any other use case, you want to keep the control over what you deliver to the users. You want to have the best experience for your user at the end, so you want to control what you give.
So how that control looks like in real terms, like in more practical terms. So we had ChatGPT, which effectively, let's think it as Google indexing your website. So you still have your content in the public, but you want to somehow let them know that some of the content which you're sharing online it should be attached to certain intents, and sort of have that control of making sure that ChatGPT uses it well. Like how that looks like in practice, like how do you go about doing that?
So basically, it's where we are going a bit more in the future, because today it's only the premises of this. But today, ChatGPT is crawling the website, and that's all. Like just crawling, but we can see that there is more and more people complaining about it because it's starting to cost a lot of money for the website that has been crawled like 10 million times per day. And also they have no control on this, so they are not happy. So what we will see in the future is that we will have more and more limitation for crawler on the different websites. They will add some layers of protection to avoid crawler from ChatGPT and all the others accessing the data. And how I see the things evolving is that we will tell ChatGPT or LLMs, all those AI tools, AI agents, we will let them know, like, if you want to have access to the data, use this source of truth that will be a search engine. If you are familiar with MCP servers, basically what we will say, or it could be MCP or everything else, but we will say to ChatGPT, you should use this MCP server to have access to my information. You should not crawl it, because this MCP server will be much better to answer your questions.
Okay.
And that's how I think it will evolve, because it's also how it has evolved in the past with human and data.
Can you give us a little bit what is MCP server for the listeners who don't know?
Yeah, of course. So MCP servers are a protocol invented by Anthropic that is running Claude to describe how AI and a tool can work together. So basically, when you are building an MCP, you have the client and the server. The client is basically the LLM, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, or it could be embedded in any kind of product. And you have the servers. The servers are often the source of truth of data. It could be a vector database, it could be a search engine, it could be a SQL database. It could be also an API, for example, for having the weather. They will probably have an MCP with a weather channel that allow you to have the weather in real time. And they have created this protocol to make sure that LLM could have access to real-time information all the time, because as you know, LLM are trained on data, but they are trained every X month. So they don't have fresh and real-time data. To have fresh and real-time data, they need to have access to API, third-party tool, etc. And that's where MCP comes. It creates this bridge between the LLMs and real-time data.
But when it comes to MCP, which Anthropic rated, that's not a globally recognized sort of .org standard yet, right? So ChatGPT will still agent out and crawl it like Google would. But what we're saying is that later on, likely there will be hopefully a unified approach to AI agents to access your data, and the structure of the data will be based on that framework or I want to say framework, but it's probably going to be something like notation or something like that, which will tell how the data is structured, right? So that we're sort of trying to predict the future. So, but what happens today? Did you come in and they crawl your website? Is there any tips you could give to whoever structures the website and the content that would work better for AI agents?
Definitely. It's a hot topic. It's a very good topic, and I think also models are changing along the way. So perhaps an advice that will be given today will not stay for future. But I think the most important is to express as many things as you can, and something that works well for Meilisearch. First is open source, because models are using a lot open source a model to train. So being open source for Meilisearch has been a huge benefit for being more promoted by LLMs, because they already know everything about Meilisearch. And they have seen a lot of references of Meilisearch on the web. But also something that works well is to create end-to-end guides, because what people are looking on ChatGPT or other tools is often how to do something, how to explain something, whatever. They have an intention. So having very intentional docs or pages or whatever is really useful, at least for Meilisearch. Because when someone asks ChatGPT how to implement search on my media website, for example, my newspaper website, for example, you need to have the specific content that ChatGPT will be able to use to generate an answer. So you should think like this, like what will be not only the question, but what will be the context, and what will be like the overall question, yes, that people will ask ChatGPT, and what ChatGPT need to answer those questions.
Okay, I love that. I mean, ultimately, you do have people intents, how to do something, what is something, all of these I'm seeking information type of questions, or even product or service. So when you generate content for that intent, is there a difference between I'm going to build a huge page, cover multiple questions and multiple intents within one page, or is it just better to do a certain amount of information? And I'm coming with this question from the perspective of LLMs working on a set memory limitations, where potentially giving too much content means that some of that content is going to get missed from that page.
Yeah, it's where I would say that I'm perhaps less an expert also because it's changing every day. So there is a new model with bigger context, etc. And I don't know exactly. I would say I'm not an expert, so I don't know how to answer the best this question.
Okay. I have, I don't know as well, Quentin, that's why I asked, right? But we had a couple of SEO experts on the show, which, they do a big SEO. We're talking hundreds of thousands keywords and, big profiles. And they said this 1 in 10, one page. They basically say it works best if you have a content piece which expresses one intent, and that's it. That's just one page. It seems to work better when it comes to ChatGPT respecting that information and giving that page as a source as well. Right. So moving on, let's talk a little bit about no screen devices, and I just want to see your take on it, and based from technology of search as well. So I'm talking about wearables. I'm talking about Amazon Echo, maybe Siri, maybe mobile phone. I actually seen an ad quite recently, and I think it was Google pushing Gemini out, where it just shows the person talking with the phone, and it goes like, ask me anything, how to make a meal, or just have a chat with me, right? So these interfaces, they will of course power the search and power the discoveries and stuff like that. Do they have any different approach from typing, or are we saying that everything we're saying just getting translated into text, and from that point on it's literally the same as using ChatGPT?
It's so far it's exactly the same. Yeah, there is no difference. It's just that we are translating the voice to text before merging it. Yeah.
And that's it. So that means there's no if you want to enter that market, let's say like this, if you want to be more discovered and more offered in these new conversational type of searches, it's really there's no strategy, there's no difference. Just do the same as you would want to be discovered by ChatGPT. That's what we're saying.
So it's the how to get the question will stay the same. I believe there is still some very tiny difference, but when it's come very different, is more about how do you give the response. Because when you are giving some text, the human eyes can move across a lot of information very quickly. When you are responding with voice, you don't want to wait 10 minutes before getting the full answers. So you have at least, on the experiment we did, is like you need at least to explain the LLMs that will answer the response, that it will be said, it will be spoken, because it will impact a lot what is written. It will be way more concise, way more straightforward, because you don't want to have an answer that repeat 10 times the same thing, or that takes too long to say one precise thing. And when you are talking to an AI with your voice, if the AI can just say like yes or no at the end, it's it's much better, because you don't want to wait before being able to ask a new question.
Yeah.
So I would say that the promptness of the answer in voice is much more important. But for the question, is almost the same.
Okay, so I got this one, which I want to share, and that comes directly from Google Search Central blog. So what they're basically saying is that AI-powered features such as SGE, which is Search Generative Experience, which you can see right now in Google, like if you put in some type of query at the very, very top, you're going to see Gemini just giving you an answer, right? It's not the not the links come below, but it will sort of give you the same as you would get from Gemini. So they're saying that prioritized content that clearly answers the question, includes structured data or structured data, and reflects expertise and trust. And this is why I have this question about expertise and trust. In your experience, Quentin, what is expertise from the eyes of AI agent?
A very good question. I hope I will not miss the question. But what I will say, that at the opposite of Google, that is searching across all the internet, where you can ask anything, anything possible. With Meilisearch, when you are contacting a search engine that is based on business data, website data, marketplace data, whatever, you already have kind of the context of where you are doing the search. So that's one of the big difference between Google and Meilisearch, is that on Meilisearch, people are already trying to find information that we have. At least we should have somewhere the information. We know that it's here. Google have to find exactly where it is. So they can have some limits, or it's more complicated for them to clearly notify what exactly is their attention and what exactly they are looking for, because they don't know at all, among the massive amount of website they could answer, where would be the best answer. For me, search is easy, because like if you are asking the question to a knowledge base, for example, for one of your SaaS application you are using, you will be talking about this SaaS. You will not be asking about something else. So I would say that it's much more easier for us. We don't have so much this issue that Google could have.
So it's simply because that your context is bounded, if I want to express it like this, because you have a data set. It's all in Meilisearch. So anything which comes in that is going to be that bubble. But what we're saying, if you talk about like Gemini or ChatGPT, that's literally the whole planet. That's literally the whole internet, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
for them to give an answer, they need to somehow validate the expertise behind the answer they give.
Yeah, basically, it will be the role of Google and ChatGPT to find which search, or which, if we keep the search topic, like which search to call. But when they reach Meilisearch on the website, for example, then Meilisearch doesn't have too much to do, because we know that we are on a specific context. Then the big issue, mostly when we are building RAG, is how to make sure that you will only answer about the topic you have, and you are into your boundaries, and you will not go outside of your boundaries, because we are using a lot of LLMs for doing RAG with Meilisearch. So you know that all the data that will be used, real-time data, is coming from internal data, but then the LLM has been trained with external data. So how do you make sure that if someone asks the chat something political, you will not answer, because it's not your role to answer this question. You should be strictly answering about this specific use case and this specific business, and you should not answer any kind of questions. So I would say that the issue for Meilisearch about this is how to know when to not answer, because you should not always answer.
How does it know when not to answer then?
It's why you have to prompt it, or to put some limitation, or sometimes you have to build your own custom model.
So if you're building your custom model, it just never even knows more context. But if you're somehow using an open source modules, a pre-trained ones, and you have yourself on top of that, there's a huge possibility that it will take more context from something which is not your content directly, right?
Yes, exactly. So you can also limit the model knowledge. You have some on some model you have the capability of modifying the weight of the content. So everything that is political or everything that is not on your business, you can just lower it down to make sure that it will never go on one direction. But you can also just prompt it to say and you can have a pipeline. Is what we do in some use cases with Meilisearch. You can have a pipeline, and at some point in the pipeline, you validate as an answer with another LLM that will have as a checklist to check if the answer is answering on this bounds and not going out of the bounds.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So you mentioned speed as well, especially when we talked about the voice, as in, if you have a conversation, you don't want to wait too long, you want a short answer, which raises this question around speed versus credibility of an answer. So if you think about, I want to get something very, very quickly back, and I'm talking from experience of using some of the faster modules online like ChatGPT, often the speed comes at the cost of actually having a good answer, as an in-depth answer and really thought out answer. It just becomes like very surface level, and then you get these answers, you get these context back, and you go like, well, I'm sort of start losing trust in this chat because you're giving me these sort of vague answers, right? So I sort of feel like the speed comes at the cost of actually having good answers, and if you want to have good answers, it's going to be slow. What's your experience? Like, what's the trade-off over here?
My experience is that it's very different for everyone. The expectation could be very different. You have some use case where the expression will be performance over relevancy, and there is some use cases where it will be relevancy over performance. Most of the case when you are chatting, you will be more willing to having relevancy over performance. But for example, perhaps for voice or for other use cases where you have search inside a SaaS application, or when it's critical to have very quick and iterative interactions, you need to have performances. It could be more important than relevancy. So it's really use case dependent. With Meilisearch, we are serving from marketplaces to media to support to SaaS application, and all of them have very different opinion on what is the most important between search and relevancy. So our goal for Meilisearch, but I think it's the same for every search engine, is to be able to have some trade-off, to give the ability for customers to choose either they want to have something precise or to have something that can answer fast. At the end, our goal at Meilisearch is to be able to align all those needs, so to be able to provide something relevant and fast at the same time.
Yeah,
it's not magic. We are trying to do our best, and today we have the faster hybrid search engine in the world. But still, if you want to have something smarter, indeed, you will have to slow it down a bit. The search.
Yeah, that's a trade-off you have to do, right? So it's a balancing act, I would assume. Okay, so so let's say we have Meilisearch installed, or we can even imagine ChatGPT and Gemini and all the queries which people are sending towards. That's a gold mine, right? And because it shows so much intent, it shows what people want, what they're looking for. That's a lot of very, very important information which we effectively giving either to the tool such as Meilisearch or to ChatGPT and Gemini to effectively to them. And I want to quote this Harvard business review, which effectively said, customer search data is one of the most overlooked tools for innovation. It reveals real-time intent, pain points, and unmet customer needs. At the same time, I work with product teams which don't really utilize that, in the sense that they go into the search queries, what people looking at, and go like, look, there's so much gold over here, we're going to build a roadmap around that. So when it comes to your experience, Quentin, it's like, how you could do that? Let's say, I have a Meilisearch, I'm getting all these queries. Like, what's the thought process, or maybe an actual workflow where you can extract that and influence what you're actually going to build next, or how you're going to serve your customers?
So basically, what we are doing today is that we are analyzing every queries that are made, every search intent that are made, and we are capable of saying like this person have searched this thing at this date and found this amount of results at this speed. We have a lot of information, and then the goal and what we are doing is that we are like just transforming the data to have reports that could be easily understood by our customers, like knowing what are the search that have no result, because today it's like it's a big issue for people that are doing mostly full text search. Is like they could have or people that are using old school technologies such as Elasticsearch or Postgre or MongoDB, they have tons of searches that have no results. They could have 25-30% of their search that have no result, and I'm like, God, it means that you are probably losing 25 or 30% of your money at the end of the month. Like, you should react, and that's our goal, is also to prove that first we could have some leverage to make those 30% go to 5% or even 0% of no response rate, but also we can learn that what has been answered that was relevant or not relevant, and we can do it because people are saying with Meilisearch, they can tell us like this person clicked on this result, or for marketplace they can say like this product has been bought after having have been searched, or whatever the use case. They can basically send custom events telling us what happened after a search, so we can correlate all of this and expose this information to the business to give them some insight about how to improve the search. Then the next step for us, what will come soon, is that we want to automatically convert this information to improve the overall search experience. First, by adapting all this content to the overall strategy of the business, saying like, for example, you want to answer always the most sold product by countries. So someone that will search from France in your marketplace, you will answer this result because they are the top selling result. But we want also to use this data to personalize the search experience for each individuals, because we will be able to categorize them, to know what they have bought before, or what is their behavior on the search so far.
Okay, so you mentioned adopted content. So we're basically getting all the queries captured, which are getting searched. We're getting some type of insights, which comes in the reports. Actually, can we talk a little bit about these reports? Are these like baked into Meilisearch, or are these something I would need to do it myself? Are we talking about somehow clustering all the keywords to express a certain intent area? It's like what are how do these reports look like?
So today it's pretty basic. What you have is all information regarding the number of users, the number of searches you got, extra per days, per hours, whatever. And on top of that, you have specific report to know what are the search with no result, what are the most search queries. You can have some splitting by countries, those kind of things.
Yep.
And for the moment, it's pretty like it's almost of it, but then we can think about being able to use AI also to labelize the query, to make to labelize the content, the queries, and to make group of queries, like to say like overall people are more willing to look for shoes in your marketplace instead of t-shirts. It's something that we might do in the future that is not possible yet.
Okay.
But the biggest things today is that people don't want necessarily to go on Meilisearch to have access to all this data. So one of our challenges is also to be able to export this data to manage it, to compress it, and to send it to another tool. It could be like Mixpanel, Amplitude, Google Analytics, whatever, where they will be able to aggregate this result, this search analytics, with all those analytics they have from their product, from their business, etc., to take decisions.
Okay, so it's analytical in the sense that it's statistical, it's numbers, is what happened, and when it comes to that strategic part of like how do you look at that report and build your future plans around your product or content or support or service, that part is where you need to do it yourself effectively, right?
Yeah, you can do it yourself. Most of the team are doing it themselves. Most of the team also are discussing with us to know how they can adapt the strategy So it's something we are doing a lot with our customers today. If they have any question about how to improve the search relevancy or to improve the result for specific queries, we definitely help them improving the search relevancy. It's one of the services we have.
All right. So you mentioned this adaptive content, which I really wanted to understand more. So we're looking at the report and we're seeing something which then leads to us going like, okay, well, that's a good query. And we need to change something in the content to match against that query so the results are being shown. Is that what we're saying about adaptive content?
Yes, absolutely. Or for example, so it's less and less the case with AI, because now with AI it's almost automatic with Meilisearch, with the AI capabilities of Meilisearch. But basically it's what people were doing. If they were looking like when people are looking for these shoes, they have no result. Why?
Okay.
We should find another way to promote some result when people are searching this, or we should improve the description of those products to have those keywords in it, those kind of things.
Are we saying this? So two-part question, Quentin. One is, how exactly do you know what to change in the content to make it adapt to the query you want to target? And the second one, considering the semantic capabilities of AI, is it even a problem in like another 2 years or so?
I don't think so today, to be honest. For people that have issues, what we do is just we activate. People that have issues are mostly people that are using only the full text search. So what we do is we just activate the hybrid search, and it solves almost all the issue. But also what we can do, most of those are images. For example, if they are product on marketplaces, they have images, and perhaps one of the issue with marketplaces is that they are sourcing a lot of data coming from different providers, and so they have sometimes data missing, description missing, they have category missing, those kind of things. So what we can do today is taking all the pictures and using AI also to get information about the product and put back those information into the main description, or into the semantic description of the product. But today, most of the issue in that range are solved by AI, either by just having a hybrid search or what we call multimodal search, meaning being able to search not only on the text or on the semantic meaning of the text or of the description, but also on the images and stuff.
Okay. So I still have this sort of pick on trust a little bit, but maybe it's not, directly with like Meilisearch, because I think you mentioned that there's no real challenge in that sense, because you have a small contextual window, which is just the business content, just the business product, or all that information. But for the bigger players, like ChatGPT and Google, I still have this like a quote which I wanted to share, which is basically it's from Pew Research, and they interviewed people when it comes to AI answers across the globe. Not only like ChatGPT or Gemini or other tools, but as well AI agents, which are chatbots within bigger companies, and they don't really trust. It's just only 19% of users fully trust AI answers, and then when they go and ask why, 60% of them said that, well, I don't know where the answer is coming from. And they were basically like, okay, well, if you give me citation, if you give me some type of context where that information came from, maybe I'm gonna trust it more. Like, do you see anything around Meili like that's being a challenge, and your opinion in general when it comes to trust to AI generated content?
So it's not a challenge, because it's a solution. By using Meilisearch, you are sure to rely on some facts that are inside the database, because we are a search engine. Finally, we are just not a vector database or whatever. We are a real search engine. So what we answer is precise. Then the issue could come to hallucination. But then you have some solution to limit the hallucination with Meilisearch. But overall, this is a huge topic for B2C LLMs such as Gemini or ChatGPT. It's not a real issue for us, because the data, we always have the data that people can trust. If they are looking for information on a specific website and searching with Meilisearch on this specific website, they will see content from this specific website. We will not get content from other website or whatever. One other thing is that I don't know if it's mentioned on your thing, but people could also be more and more afraid about just who train the model. Like, can we trust how the model will behave in front of my question? What if I ask any question that could be political or anything else?
Yep.
That's why with Meilisearch, we try to stay agnostic with the model. People can choose whatever models they prefer. We can use OpenAI, we can use Anthropic Claude, or we can use open source one. Today, we are really moving more on open source because it's also in our heart. We made Meilisearch open source, so we are also promoting a lot of open source models, LLMs, embeddings, re-ranking models, etc., that are open source. And we definitively think and believe that it's the future. But definitely there is this question about, can we trust where the data is coming from? And when you have this capability of just being agnostic and let people choose what models they want to use, it's easier to be trustable.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the modules you guys you mentioned, you open sourced as well, and people can choose. So you're trying to stay agnostic, right? So effectively you're saying like, look, we're not going to make a choice for you. You're going to choose that yourself. But if I have no idea, it's like, do I need to know to be able to choose? It's like, you're delegating that responsibility to me. Great, but will I make the right choice?
Yeah. So yeah, basically you can have your own choice. The fact is that we have a lot of people asking us, like, what is the best model in my context?
Yeah.
So we just have to understand better the context, and we can advise on, is it this model or this model? We have internal benchmark about all the models for each industries, etc. So we can say like, yes, for your use case, because you really need to have very high relevancy, we will require to have this proprietary model because it will be more relevant on marketplaces for marketplaces that need to answer in German, French, English, and Japanese. But in that case, you are only in English, and you have a very tight piece of information. So perhaps an open source model will be enough. So we have this capability internally to promote or to advise our users or customers about which model to use. But the goal also in the future of our product will be to have a marketplace where we can clearly define which model use in which use case, and perhaps also, because we have the data already inside Meilisearch, being able to advise in advance. Like, perhaps if you want to move to semantic search or use a LLM, because we know your data, we know what kind of data you need to promote to your customer, we will recommend this one.
Okay, I love that. And you mentioned a marketplace. So you guys trying to create some type of module marketplace which plugs and play with Meilisearch, or just not necessarily Meilisearch, but a general sort of like Hugging Face type of situation?
No, definitely we are trying to create a marketplace. It will not come in the coming month, but probably before the end of the year, where you will be able to choose all your models, but also custom ones that are coming from Hugging Face. So,
Nice.
being
Okay.
able to be connected to Hugging Face, because what we can see is that today, when it comes to so there are three main kind of model. There is the embedding models that are transforming a text to a semantic meaning. There is the re-ranking models that are capable of re-rank results based on the context or stuff like this, and you have the LLMs models that are capable of transcribing result into a message and vice versa. For the embeddings model and the LLMs model, generic one are good enough. But for the re-ranking model, most of the big companies today have a team dedicated to build their own re-ranking models that will be tailored to their business logic. Airbnb, Netflix, all those companies have a dedicated team of data engineers and ML engineers that are building this re-ranking model. And our goal will be never to build one re-ranking model that works for everyone. It's totally impossible. First, it's going too fast, and second, we will never know as best as the team what is their use case, what is their business challenges, etc. So our goal is to stay agnostic and to tell people, like, we have those three models, you can put whatever you want on those plugs. You can plug whatever model you want. If you want to bring your own re-ranking model that you build yourself, you can. It's definitively yours. And today, those people are using Hugging Face for storing those models. So we just want to connect to Hugging Face to be able to download Hugging Face model into our infrastructures and to be able to use them for the search.
That's very nice. I love that. Everyone's going to be waiting for that. Hopefully it goes out, Quentin, based on the time you said by the end of the year. So I think people will be tuning in. So we got this rapid question situation in the show. So it's like 10 questions. See if you can keep the answer short, but if you want to expand, that's of course fine. And these are often the questions which I wasn't able to sort of put in the main theme of the topic, but it's still very relevant, right? So let's go. What's something most people misunderstand about how AI-powered discovery actually works behind the scenes?
The importance of having a well-structured and good data.
So what was the first? The second was good data. The first one?
Structured.
What is that?
So having data that could be manageable, because sometimes it's a mess,
Yep.
and you have to spend some time in enriching the data or making it clean
Yep.
to make it easier to be retrieved.
Okay, so we're basically saying for the people thinking about their own small databases and putting a search on top, serving the customers, one thing which you probably not thinking about is the cleanness of your data.
I would say, like, the advice: think about what your user expect, and manage your data to look like what your user will expect.
Okay, it goes back to that data structure which we discussed, and MCPs, isn't it? It's so important. I mean, it's literally the fundamental piece, right? It's your data. Then you have the proxy, as you mentioned, your search engine, and then you have your customer intents, right? Yeah. Okay, how do you think AI search will shape the way we design interfaces for non-screen devices like wearables or smart home?
Mixed feeling, because I think it will not replace entirely screen, but definitely we will have to find new ways to expose data. The question, as I mentioned, is not about how do you express your intention, but how do you receive it. And for me, that's the challenge we have to solve in terms of user experience.
Okay, AI answers are fast, but not always clear about where they come from. We sort of touched that a little bit on that. If you had to prioritize, would you focus on speed or transparency to build user trust?
Transparency.
Transparency. How would you do that?
Being able to always get the source and with exactly the point of the source where the information came.
So effectively, I'm talking with your search engine. I'm talking with Meilisearch, which AI powered. I'm getting an answer, and at any point in time, I can go like, "Where did you got that from?" And it goes, I got that from these sources, and just listing sources.
We can already do it.
Okay.
And we can tell you like it was exactly in this paragraph in these pages.
Yeah, I love that. I really hate when I work with ChatGPT and I'm like, give me a source. I don't know. It's like, well, what do I do with this now, right? If it's like an email, you don't care. You can just put it in. But if you're writing something monetizable, let's say like this, like if you're writing maybe a PDF you want to sell about certain things, right, which is very popular right now, where people are just reusing the content in different ways and then sort of selling low ticket type of PDF content. Well, if you can back this up by the source, it's like, how do you even know what you're writing here is actually valid, right?
It's a change.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think every product team should be running prompts through tools like ChatGPT to test how they show up?
What do you mean by how they show up?
Let's say I'm putting what is Meilisearch in ChatGPT, and I'm getting an answer. Should product teams and services care about what ChatGPT is saying about them?
Not entirely. It's a good insight, not the main one, because as you might know, if you are a product team, you are sometimes in advance about the marketing also, and so if you are in advance against the marketing, it means that you will be also in advance to LLMs. That will be 6 months late, basically. So I say, like, take it as an advice, but not as a trust.
Okay, so
any information you get from ChatGPT, like, just take it, use it, but be careful about, like, doesn't just take it as a 100% perfect.
Okay, so if we are a product team, we put it in and we see something which we don't like, that might be just old data. That might be, it's probably isn't old data. How do we go about changing that? Like, what would be your go-to? Let's say you put in Meilisearch, maybe your name, and you get something you don't like, and you go like, "That's not true."
Yeah.
Like, do you just ignore it because you said like, like yes, it's a good reference, but don't go over concentrate on that, or would you actually go like, okay, well, if I'm seeing this, that means other people are seeing this. I don't like what is getting served. Like, how do I go fix that?
It's important to think about what that people are also seeing it, but I would be more willing to think like, okay, if I got this, it's because the probability means that most of the people think this about Meilisearch already, because it means that the model has been trained with those kind of information, meaning that probably those kind of information are online already.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be more willing to know like why ChatGPT tells this, why people told this about Meilisearch in front
Mm-hmm.
before, and how do I communicate it better in the future to make sure that now
Yep.
people see the value or change their mind or whatever, and say positive things about Meilisearch.
Yep. Love that. How do you explain structured content to non-technical teams who just want to be found with AI?
How do I explain structured?
Content.
What do you mean by that?
So we talked a little bit about MCPs and what the future might be when it comes to content being given to AI engines. So in
Mhm.
current day, they just go in and crawl the websites. Like
Yeah.
what's the structure of the content should be to make sure that they're getting picked up and represented? Well, effectively, the content is just getting picked up by AI agents.
Yeah, I would say just use Meilisearch to index your website, and it will be well structured.
So about how you like if you index website, right? So Meilisearch index, like how do you look at the website structure? Do you just follow a normal sort of like HTML SEO guidance, or is there something specific where the content just becomes better when it comes to structure to feed into LLM?
So there's many things to do to get relevant data. It's not just like today you can see more and more just AI looking at web pages and try to extract some information. For me, it's one part of the result, but there is something old that's called schema.org
Yeah.
that is used by every content website and every marketplace, e-commerce, etc. That is a way to structure content for Google. So just following I would say the old advice is good, but also with Meilisearch you have the capability, and our color is doing this, like to split the page into some relevant segment. Because one of the challenge when you search for content in pages is to know exactly what is the part of the content that match the user needs, and then how to put this into a context that will be probably the full page. But you need to retrieve exactly where the match is. So we have a huge work at splitting content into multiple pieces,
Okay.
and
So
that's one of the challenge.
so the old advice of schema.org, that's still like SEO tactics. We basically saying that's still very valid. There's no new ways of serving contents, at least yet. And you as a search engine and likely others are doing the heavy lifting to making sense of whatever is the content being given by by the public, by the internet, and then putting that into LLM, right?
Yeah, I think
Mm.
instead of if we invent a new standard, there is a lm.txt that could be also useful. We index them, for example, for Meilisearch with the crawler. If anyone do you know what it is?
No.
No. So basically, what you can do is like for every pages you have on your website, you can have a shadow page called lm.txt. That is
Mm.
a text file that LLM could use as a context to answer a question,
Okay, that's great.
and very useful.
Yeah, yeah, that's very useful. So how did that txt look like? It's just literally a text, like this, like
Yeah,
like just pure text. Okay, is that like a standard now, or is it just something like a want to
kind of.
become? Kind of. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. There is more and more CMS and stuff that are taking this standard.
Excellent. All right. So, what one thing companies should stop doing when it comes to getting discovered today? Again, with AI, by AI agents. Stop.
What should they stop doing? Your questions are hard.
Too much content. Maybe as an idea, I'm behind that question. That's what I had. I was like, I was reading this blog post, and it was, I don't know, it was like 16 minutes read or something like that. It's just so huge, and I was like, I don't think that would. I feel like that would be too much for any sort of like small memory AI agent to consume that information to actually be given then as an answer with ChatGPT. And I was like, I want to ask Quentin if he has any ideas about what you should stop doing.
Definitively, what you should do is still content that will interest people, and what you should avoid
Yeah,
to do is crap content that will serve only SEO purpose.
here you go.
Because yeah, definitely it could work for a time. It will not scale, and at the end, it can drive some people. But if the content is not interesting, they will just leave and they will have a bad feeling about your content
Yeah,
overall.
value add content. I love that. I'm seeing as well a lot of ChatGPT real written content. Like you have these like very like surface level
Mhm.
definitions, no real depth within the content, and you see a lot of that getting just spit out into internet, and it's getting annoying to some points. So I get what you're saying when it comes to quality read and quality content. So, in your view, is there any opportunities getting missed when it comes to LLM agents and companies not being on YouTube, not doing podcasts, TikToks and other social media? And where I'm coming with this from is that you are likely producing a lot of content which is not written content, right? Like
Mhm.
videos and talking like us having conversation right now. Our companies are losing opportunities to actually take that content,
Mhm.
somehow structure it for LLM, maybe write some tools and then shove it in and make it yours.
If the question is about should we take more carefully about should we invest more into other than text format
Yep.
for islands, the answer is definitively yes, more and more, because all the text format has been indexed. Almost all the video format has been indexed by the bigger company yet, but I think the podcast, I don't know if all the podcasts has been indexed by ChatGPT and other stuff, but because they are willing to have more and more content to train the models, uh, you should you should be on every kind of information. And for example, all the information on I don't know, Reddit, X, or those kind of website will be not indexed in the future, depending on the model still. But I think that podcast and YouTube could be a real source of truth for the long term for those models,
Mm-hmm.
because you have a lot of learnings to get on those. It takes some investment and time to do. At the opposite of just tweeting something, and you have to put you are also exposing yourself as a human, and when you are talking to in a podcast or on YouTube. So definitely, I think that they will put more importance in the content that is produced on those kind of format instead of text.
I love you saying that. I share that opinion, by the way. I really do. Right. So, personalization, shaping future of AI search, helpful or harmful? And what I mean by that is, I do a search and it knows who I am, it knows my habits, it probably connects up maybe with even other information sources, what I buy, what I look, what I watch, and then it gives answers through that filter.
I would say both, depending on who is doing it. If you are looking at personalization from OpenAI, not trustable.
Yeah, that's scary,
Uh,
right?
yeah, that's scary. But if you are looking for personalization in a specific website, for example, I would say it's a good thing because the website is probably just using your information, not sharing this information to other provider or whatever. They are not using it for any ads or whatever. We are doing it a lot for Meilisearch, and the data stay on Meilisearch. We are never selling it to anyone else. Like we are getting analytics and getting personalization for each of the users. The data is never shared. Like our business is to answer the queries, is not to share the data to other providers.
What if you get acquired by OpenAI?
I will probably erase all the content before.
Before you leave, delete everything.
Yeah.
Right.
People have to think about this, and that's super important as someone coming from open source. I think that technology is always good when it's on the good hand, meaning on the hand of everyone, and things are made transparently and all that stuff. So I would say like look about where is your data, what people are doing with your data, and if you don't know, ask.
Yep, I love that. How far do you think we are from fully voice first commerce, like buying something without ever looking at the screen?
Far.
Far? Like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
It will almost never happen.
It will almost never happen. Okay, give me your thinking.
When you are buying something, you want to see it.
Okay.
So perhaps you will have a 3D representation in front of you, but at the end, you need to see it. It's difficult to buy something just on audio description or something like this. You need to see the product, the good you will buy. If you want to buy still on my, I am talking about my sneakers. If you want to buy a sneakers, you want to see it. If you don't, how do you know what you will receive? So the same for everything. I think.
Okay, so you want to? What about this? Like, I'm like, I don't know, on my phone. I'm like, hey, AI agent, I've been Googling yesterday something, and is anyone selling that? Oh yes, Shop X is selling this, has your size, because I know stuff about you. Price is good. Refunds is good. You can just send them back if you don't like in 14 days. Yeah, okay, buy it.
So first, I don't want this world. I think it will come. I don't know if it will be massive, if it will replace. I think it will come next to traditional way to search, and it will not entirely replace it.
Yeah.
It will probably evolve. I don't know in how long it will completely be transformed. Perhaps in the future we'll have chips in our mind that will allow us to see the product that we buy without a screen. In overall, I don't see anything magic in that world. It will not entirely replace existing things.
I feel like like big e-commerce brands will try to make it happen, because it's just it removes so much friction of actually looking for stuff. And if we think about discoveries, I feel like they probably start, I don't know, pushing some messages or something like that. Like they will just try to utilize this somehow, and this is where the question came from. But we'll see what the future is. All right, so last one, Quentin. If someone is starting from scratch today, no marketing teams, no tools whatsoever, what's the first thing they should be doing to get findable by AI agents?
What is the first thing they should do to be found by the AI agents?
Yep. Let's use ChatGPT or Gemini as an example, or even Meilisearch if you guys indexing.
Definitely write content that will be mindful and that people will want to read. Basically, do everything that was need to do before. At the difference that today, the content, if you are sharing it to the right place, etc., if you master your channel of distribution, it could be indexed quicker by some LLMs. I think it's the same. It's just that the channels that are changing over time, and what is interesting people is also changing. So basically, it's the same recipe but with different ingredients.
Okay, I love that. Chain of distribution. I mean, that's probably quite technical for people to understand. But what we're saying, how LLMs, AI agents get information is evolving, and there's a protocols which are coming in place which you probably want to understand as well, and how they work. So you can get your content in the right structure, in the right shape to just get that fed into you. But at the end of the day, the user intents and your content serving these intents, which is the quality of the content, is still there. That didn't change at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So before we wrap up, Quentin, if people care to know more about Meilisearch, maybe you personally, where they can find you, and if you want to leave our listeners with one thing, what that thing would be.
So first, if they want to find me or Meilisearch, please look either on LinkedIn for myself, on GitHub for Meilisearch. And if I had one thing to say, is like, take the control back on your data and don't let LLMs just master the information for you. Like, take back the control, think about it, think about how do you want to serve what you are doing, and not be passive in that world.
I love that. Data is the new gold in the new era, isn't it? Especially now, everyone was talking about like 10 years ago, data is the new era, that's the new gold. And now when AI came out, it's so easy to see why data is so important. Right. So you know how I know Meilisearch, by the way, Quentin? Just I forgot to give that story in the beginning. I was planning to. I used to code with Laravel,
Okay.
which is like PHP framework. Mm-hmm. And when I say used to, I have like a coder's background, in my career, and I did Laravel. And at some point, they had this package, which was the research package. So if you want to get a search feature within what you're building with Laravel framework, you could pull in different tools. And I think by default, they were using Elasticsearch. And at some point, they switched to Meilisearch, which was the default engine they would pull in with the package. This is how I knew Meilisearch. That's years ago. So I think it's like 6 or 7 years ago. So it was very cool, to see you coming on the show. It just reminded me of all good times. Right. Awesome. So, yep.
No, I just say awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you guys, doing so well. I'm glad to see you guys do so well. Right. So everyone tuning in today, if you love the episode, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything we release in the future. If this episode got you thinking about your data, of how you enable search on your website or on your data with AI-powered features, Meilisearch is something you probably want to look at. There's some other tips which we shared today. So if it made you think, share this episode with whoever you think should listen this to as well. And if you have your challenges, growth challenges, give that to me at masteringtechroad.com. I really want to know what you're working on, and especially what keeps you up at night. And as always, until the next time, stay safe and see you online.